It is Monday night in East Lansing. Gather around, gather around. My name is Jim Comparoni, publisher of SpartanMag.com. It's time, and it's time. And I just got a text right there that's going to help me out a little bit later with question number one, as a matter of fact. Come on in, gather around, grab a beverage. Tell us what kind of beverage you're having, what kind of refreshments you're having. Social distancing, brotherhood. Monday night, a special night for us to do this. Usually, we're doing this on Friday nights. Couldn't do Friday because we had a family birthday situation going on. Didn't want to do it Monday night but didn't want to do it Sunday night because it was Father's Day. A lot of you guys were busy. I was a little bit busy. So it's Monday night. We're doing East Lansing. When we get into the fall, I just got some more information I'm going to type in. A text that pertains to questions tonight. As we get into the fall and the football season, I suspect we'll be doing this on Monday nights. I think that might be a good time for Spartan Mag Live to fall 2 days after the game, day before the Tuesday press conference. Monday nights, probably in the fall. So this is a little bit, gets us ready for the football season. A little bit. We ready for college football? I'm starting to feel that way. Don't want to chase away summer. Don't want to chase away summer too quickly. Just got some more information. But man, after what we've been through in the spring, more information. Anything is good football, right? You don't want to chase away the summer, but with the spring the way it is, not sure about football. If I knew that we would get 12 games of football and everything would be peaceful and healthy and harmonious, I'd go to August 28th right now. Boom, let's do it. I'd take that bet. I'd take that trade. As much as I love summer, third longest night of the year today. Just got off the practice field. Feeling pretty good. Glad to welcome all the maggers in. Go ahead and post questions. We will get to those questions later. We've got questions over here, underground bunker style. Let's go right to it before I explain that whole situation. Question number one, Ward 44 says, basketball, says, with Aaron Henry back on campus, do you believe he will come back now? Aaron Henry back on campus. He was one of the guys that was tested last Monday for COVID, clean. They tested again today, and we'll find out in a couple more days if there's any more information about positive tests. And then after that, football will begin with optional workouts. And basketball, I'm not exactly sure what the basketball team is going to be doing in terms of workouts. If they will divide the team up into thirds or something like that, not sure. I'll look into that. But they'll be getting underway with off-season, just their optional runs that they always do in the summer. Those will be kicking off also, I would imagine, later this week. I've got my ear to the ground on that. We'll have more information on that. Stay tuned to the Underground Bunker message board in the Final Forum. As information comes in, we will post it over there. The question about Aaron Henry, a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't so sure about Aaron Henry. There were some indications you might get a little bit of a Cody White situation going on there. Well, ear to the ground a little bit. He is back on campus, and it's definitely looking better. I got some information just as we were talking just now. It's looking better for Aaron Henry. Looking real good, to the point where I think you can count on Aaron Henry being a part of the basketball team this season, provided there is a basketball season. A couple weeks ago, we weren't so sure. Looking a lot better now. Aaron Henry, I'm not predicting he's going to be back. I'm saying I'm expecting him to be back. I think thumbs up in that category. And it's hard to get information on those type of things because there's not camps. There's not any press conferences. There's not Moneyball. Usually at this time of the year, we are running into coaches and players out in various locales for obvious reasons. Unable to do that this year. So some of the questions that are out there's more questions than usual in the offseason. And those questions that are lingering, you have to go by phone calls and texts, the old-fashioned phone calls, to get information on things. And I know a lot of fans are out there interested in Michigan State basketball. They want to know what's going on with the personnel right now. looking good for Aaron Henry, and that's good news for the basketball team coming up next year. That question was posted by Ward44 at the Final Forum message board. Actually, it was posted at the Underground Bunker message board, which is the church of what's happening now with Michigan State sports. It's the main message board for SpartanMag.com. SpartanMag.com covers Michigan State sports for Rivals.com. We've been doing it there since, 1998, something like that. I had a lot of fun with it. So over at the Underground Bunker message board, I invite maggers to post questions, mailbag style. We field those questions here once a week. In the meantime, we get questions from the masses live over here in the chat area. We will field those questions also, as long as my voice holds up. Had to get after some infielders today a little bit. Turned out good. It's nice to have practice. We're back into, we're doing stuff now that we should have been working on March and April. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. Going with more practices than games right now. I don't believe in diving right into games. Anyway, you don't care about that. Question number 2 from WM Spartan from Parts Unknown. I assume that means WM, probably West Michigan Spartan, but he says Parts Unknown. He says Michael Trigg, recruiting question, tight end from Florida. He's picking up basketball scholarship offers with big-time programs. Do you have any thoughts on his film as a basketball prospect and whether he would be capable of contributing to an elite basketball program like Michigan State and what any such contribution would be like at Izzo's program? All right, Michael Trigg is a big-time 4-star tight end prospect from Florida. That Herb Haygood, Haygood knows his coach a little bit. I think he might know his dad a little bit. So, and I asked Haygood about it, and he hadn't heard anything lately. So that one is still in the process football-wise. Basketball-wise, Michigan State has gotten Izzo involved with Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Louisiana, 6'4", legitimate basketball prospect. When I say legitimate basketball prospect, someone can be a legitimate basketball prospect at the age of 16 or 17, but if they come in on a football scholarship and focus on football, as you guys know, it's really hard to focus on football and then change gears, change your body, change your conditioning to basketball after January 1st or whenever. And, it's hard enough to be a basketball first guy and contribute in basketball. Ask Isaiah Dahlman, ask Kenny Kaminsky. There's a lot of scholarship basketball players that have trouble, focusing, even when they focus all year. Marquise Gray, 12 months, still it's hard to get, a huge role. Look at Garrick Sherman, that was his name, right? Pretty good player, but so you take someone who's good. Those guys are all, pretty good scholarship basketball guys. If you'd have taken any of those guys and made them focus on football for 9 months of the year, then bring them in, really hard to do. Andre Rison, way back in the old days, as great of an athlete as he was, and Judd Heathcote said that if he had focused on basketball, he would have been an NBA player. But when he joined the basketball team, those of you that are old enough to remember, rough around the edges, kind of tight, kind of stiff, Matt Trannon played a role, but not going to be a scorer type of guy. So you want to know, is Michael Trigg the type of guy that can help at a program like Michigan State? Well, he's been offered. I've not nailed it down whether that's all verified or not, but there are indications that Kentucky has offered or is very interested. I've not looked at him as a basketball recruit, but if that's true that Kentucky's offering him, then that's a special, different type of guy. There have not been many guys like that over the years that legitimately could do both. Even remember Deion Sims, excellent tight end at Michigan State, NFL. He was a top 100 basketball type of prospect. Never went and did basketball at Michigan State, but at the age of 15, 16, 17, he was a national guy. So Michael Trigg, to answer your question, it is eye-opening that he has that type of attention, which I've not squared away yet. I've not verified. Could he help at Michigan State? Trannon did a little bit. Who are some of the other guys that did? There haven't been many. Fred Smith was recruited to possibly do that and never quite happened. There was the quarterback, Aaron, what was his name, from Virginia? He rode the bench for a little bit. Lorenzo Guess, a little bit, contributed in 1999. Rare, right? So, would Michigan State recruit him and leave the door open? Yeah, they've done that a few times. So, you're asking, would he be capable to contribute at an elite basketball program like Michigan State? If Michigan State is rolling and a top 10 basketball team, Tristan Jackson, Davion Williams, more recently, Hayden Fisher. Aaron Alexander, thanks Kirk Baldwin. Aaron Alexander, the quarterback from Virginia. So Michigan State uses that for recruiting, but in terms of it actually coming to fruition on the basketball court, rare. Take a special person to do it. I don't doubt that Michigan State will open the door and recruit him both ways, as they're doing with Keon Coleman. Then they get on campus and see how it is. But I've seen a little bit of Michael Trigg basketball, but not enough to have a real strong opinion. And I've not asked around to see, what Izzo and those guys think of him. I wouldn't be surprised if those talks are going on, in these days right now. And Izzo will be all in favor of a good athletic walk-on. He's all for it. If he can help Mel Tucker's basketball program, he's all for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that enters into it. Hey, we got a good start here. Appreciate everybody coming in. Got good numbers. Remember to give us a thumbs up. That helps with our numbers, and it helps us get the Spartan Mag Live out there. If you have not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We are right on the cusp of 2,000 subscribers here at the SpartanMag.com YouTube channel. I really appreciate those of you that subscribe. Plateau for us, and I appreciate all you guys doing that. And I saw a moment ago the Untitled Beer Ranking Show with a sponsorship. Appreciate that sponsorship from a man in the tip jar. Appreciate that, Untitled Beer Ranking Show. Appreciate your contributions here and your posts over at the Underground Bunker message board. I'm on your side. All right, let's get back to the questions here. Let's go to Hayden V8, same guy that was helping us with the microphone a moment ago. He says, who are 5 players, in your opinion, that will have breakout seasons this year, MSU football? 5 players, breakout seasons. I'll invite the masses to go ahead and tell me who you have for your choices for potential breakout players for this coming football season. And when you talk about breakout players, I got to tell you that at this time last year, I was predicting that Antoine Simmons would break out. And that maybe wasn't a big surprise, but I predicted that he would be better than his predecessor, Andrew Dowell. And he was. And I predicted that A.J. Arcuri would be a fixture in the starting lineup. And after he got through his injuries, he was. Elijah Collins, I always said I liked him as the best pure runner of that whole group. Now remember, Ladarius Jefferson and Connor Hayward played ahead of him when they were true freshmen, but I liked Collins' pure running ability. Once he got the pass protection down, he had a higher ceiling as a runner than those guys. That proved to be true also. So when we talk about breakout players, you have to define your terms. Look at last year. Who was a breakout player last year? Antoine Simmons moving into the starting lineup. Elijah Collins was a breakout player, leading the team in rushing with over 900 yards. But really not a lot of breakout players. So you're asking for 5. Last year Xavier Henderson got into the starting lineup, did some good things. Breakout player, maybe. A.J. Arcuri is a junior last year, breakout player. Maybe. Solid. He was functional. Maybe not breakout. J.D. Duplain is a true freshman, got in the starting lineup, functional. When I think breakout, I think like breaking out into stardom. Henderson almost there. Arcuri not quite, potential. Duplain not quite, has the potential. Noah Harvey in the starting lineup late in the year after Joe Bacci was ineligible. And Noah Harvey had some good moments. What do you have, like 12 or 13 tackles in the bowl game? Breaking out into stardom, not quite, but some good things. So last year, I would only count like 2 guys that were breakout players. So you're asking for 5. My definition of a breakout player, I thought Jacob Panashuk could possibly do it. I saw a post a moment ago. Someone suggested Panashuk. I think Panashuk, could he go from being a competent, functional starting defensive end to becoming like an honorable mention All Big Ten guy or a second team All Big Ten guy, that would be breakout. For a guy that's already started, that next level would be breakout. If we're to define terms, can Jacob Panasiuk do that? Yes, I think Jacob Panasiuk could do that. Last year, Julian Barnett with some plays on offense, going back to defense now, Trey Mosley with some plays. When you're doing it as a skill position player on offense, people would think, those guys are breakout players, but you look at the stats where they have 10, 15 catches, good contributors as true freshmen. Breakout, is that considered breakout? You can tell me what you think about those terms. Now, the question, Hayden says, in his question, he says, excluding Jaden Reed and A.J.R. Curry. Now, A.J.R. Curry already started, so if he becomes like all Big Ten, that's a breakout season. So I don't want to exclude those guys. I think they're in play as potential breakout people, even people that have already started. A.J.R. Curry, Jacob Panasiuk, Xavier Henderson, could they break out and become all-conference type players? Possibly. But Jaden Reed, you can't exclude that guy. He's coming in from Western Michigan, transfer, getting rave reviews from his teammates. If we're talking breakout players, Jaden Reed's got to be on that list. So you want to exclude him, I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to overrule you on that, Hayden. We're going to let him in. Jaden Reed is a breakout player in 2020. Who else? A second running back. Anthony Williams, the coaches were really high on him last year, did some good things in the bowl game. Some of that electricity that the old coaching staff used to talk about, we didn't see a whole lot of that. He might get 3 or 4 carries a game, and it was kind of pedestrian. But in the bowl game, we saw that from Anthony Williams. As a number 2 running back, I think Anthony Williams has a chance. True freshman, someone like Jordan Simmons. True freshman running backs can make noise. And I don't close the door on that possibility with Jordan Simmons. Julian Barnett moving to corner is going to be interesting. Trey Mosley coming back with a year of experience under his belt. They need some wide receivers to, help Jaden Reed. So I think Trey Mosley has a shot to do something. I saw someone post a minute ago about Kalen Gervin. And Kalen Gervin is a guy that started against Ohio State, didn't go so well. As you know, he was, a high-level recruit. Now that he's working with Harlan Barnett, could he do more? Yes. They need that. They could use that. I don't think he's going to start this year, but, I don't think he'll be first string to begin practice, but he could earn that job. He has the capacity to do that. So you're asking me, last year I was looking at Trenton Gillison possibly. C.J. Hayes didn't quite get there. Could he do it? These are some candidates. Who do I think? You want 5 people. I'm going to say Xavier Henderson. Somebody at quarterback's got a chance, right? I mean, someone's going to take that job, and I would hope, if I'm a Michigan State fan or a coach, could be at least like a Peyton Ramsey at Indiana, a guy that lost his job, transferred to Northwestern. I know Peyton Ramsey put up some good completion percentage numbers, but it's Michigan State. They've got a pool of candidates. They've recruited a pool of candidates. This coaching staff didn't recruit these guys, but that's what they've got to work with. I would hope that anytime a program is ushering in a new starting quarterback, that starting quarterback, if he completes at least 58%, at least 55% of his passes, and has a touchdown to interception ratio that's at least 2-1. That's not asking very much, right? That would be a breakout season. That I would think that would be enough to give Michigan State a 500 record. I know that's not enough. You need other people. You need the offensive line to come around, defense and so forth. But if a quarterback can be that, if a quarterback gives you that, you've got the groundwork for a 500 season, I would think. So I got to put Peyton Thorne on the list. Rocky Lombardi, good kid. I don't close the door on the possibility that he could show a lot of improvement. There have been quarterbacks in the past that have done it, have changed their mechanics and gotten it done. So Rocky Lombardi, tough guy, gamer, team guy. I don't shut the door on the possibility he could have a breakout. So I'm going to say Xavier Henderson. And, keep an eye on Chase Klein, too. The guy just runs around and makes plays, runs around and makes tackles. Like a different body version, kind of like John Reschke was when he was younger. So I'm going to put some way, somehow, Chase Klein's going to get in there and do some productive things. So Jaden Reed, Xavier Henderson, Chase Klein. You're going to want a tight end to do something, especially as much as Jay Johnson wants to utilize the tight end position. Matt Dotson's a senior. Been waiting for him to show that 4-star talent. He's got it. Finished last year with an injury. He's going to be a senior. A good guy that's really driven to become all of that. Trenton Gillison, we will see. Did Trenton Gillison do enough when he got back home to work on his physicality and so forth? He had a big game in the bowl game with a big play down the seam. So a tight end is going to break through, I would think. I would hope if I'm Michigan State. I would hope if I'm the offensive coordinator. Would you consider Dotson as a senior a breakthrough? Yeah, that'd be a breakthrough. It's late in the career, but he's kept his nose to the grindstone, kept working on it. So right now, from a June 22nd point of view, Xavier Henderson, Jaden Reed, Matt Dotson, Chase Klein. All right, on that fifth one, I'm thinking about, does Kevin Jarvis still count? He hasn't played for 2 years. He's played a little bit for 2 years, but injuries. Honorable mention All Big Ten as a true freshman. If he bounces back in his second team All Big Ten, does that count? So that fifth one, could be a Trenton Gillison, could be a Kevin Jarvis, could be a Julian Barnett, a Trey Mosley, could be a Kalen Gervin, could be Jacob Panashuk, could be Noah Harvey. Maybe I'm missing somebody. Breakthrough. Jacob Panashuk's been a solid player. For him to be a breakthrough, he'd have to become like second team All Big Ten. For Kalen Gervin to become a breakthrough, he'd have to become a starter. Dominique Long, Harlan Barnett's going to give him a good look. So I don't have a good answer for a fifth guy. I'm going to duck that question. I'm sure that'll come back up again between now and late August. So I'm going to just move along. It's a good question, though. It's a thinker. Let me see if I can find the chat area here. Get some questions. A lot of fun. Good numbers. Got a decent number of people in right now. Appreciate everybody being flexible and coming in on a Monday. I think Mondays are fun, right? Is that your fun day? Is that what Susanna Hoff said? Prince wrote that lyric, though, right? You know what I'm talking about if you're my age. MM Drippy, batting first again. MM Drippy's quick in here. What a great surprise. MM Drippy, I start work at the Meyer Garden in Grand Rapids on Monday. Have you been there? I'm doing some stone masonry work on the concert venue there. I've not been there, and I've heard it's nice. My guy Conan Dyke's been there. Conan Dyke saw Buddy Guy there. He saw a few other people. My wife and her friend went there and looked and saw a Picasso exhibit a few years ago. I've not been there, though. Got to put that on my list. Thanks for that, MM. Be safe with that. MM says, what's the word on Andrell Anthony? Andrell Anthony working out. Corey Robinson had some video of him last week over at East Lansing High School. Their off-season workouts. Andrell Anthony putting in some, you probably saw the video over at SpartanMag.com. Working hard. There's no coaches on the field. He's working hard on his craft. Talented guy. Centered guy. Announced his top 4 last week. Michigan State, Notre Dame, Penn State. Excellent, borderline 4-star type wide receiver. I think he's a 4-star type talent. So he wants the word on that. I think it's, Michigan State's in a solid position there. I think it's kind of like, you run 200 laps at Talladega. They're probably 50 laps in right now. And the Andrell Anthony recruitment chase. I think it's going to go into the fall. It's going to go into visits. I think Michigan State's in there. I think he's intrigued by Michigan State. I think he'll want to see Michigan State play this fall, see what it looks like, and see how the Mel Tucker regime begins. See if the Mel Tucker personality continues to eclipse the Jim Harbaugh personality. See if Harbaugh can win this year. Penn State, a lot of personality there. Good program. So it's going to be a good one. Drippy's back on the spring water. Good for you. Austin Courier says, go green. Good to have Austin in the house. Hayden Vischer says, what's up? Old Tuck, the bell cow, he's in. Got a picture of Old Tuck there, too. Looking good. Hayden Vischer, top 4. MSU, Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame. Yep, that's right about Andrell Anthony. Hayden Vischer, Monday Night Football comp. What about Tuesday and Thursday? What, you want to do this Tuesday and Thursday? Is that what you're talking about? I got some plans for a little curveball for you guys, and I still have to work on that. Still ironing out some wrinkles, but it's a surprise. I think it'll be well received. So stay tuned on that one. Todd H. says, we going to have full stadiums? How will it work? I say all the fear mongers stay home in your basement and let us who are not scared go to the games. Todd H. with a political statement. I'm not going to touch that one. I heard something about, I don't know this. I was talking to Amy, actually, Nils, who's on here sometimes. So I don't know if this is factual, but of course the numbers have spiked, unfortunately, in the southern part of the United States. But I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I think the deaths it's the fewest number of deaths yesterday since like March 14th or something, which I've not watched a lot of news on this in the last 72 hours. But that would lead me to believe, they've talked about, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but there were indications, that when these things mutate, sometimes they mutate and they're not as severe as the original, for lack of a better term. Hopefully that's what this means. There's a spike, but maybe it's not as severe. If that's the case and it continues to slope that way, as we get into the fall, full stadiums, I don't think we'll get there. What I'm concerned about down south is here in Michigan, when we had our spike, there was already a national lockdown, and Michigan's lockdown was even more severe. And I know that was controversial. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. But when we had our spike, everything was locked down and people could handle it for a while. I know there was a lot of people that were hurting economically, so I'm not going to judge anybody on either side of that. The problem down south now is there's not the national lockdown. And then, of course, controversially, what they're doing in their states. So they're having their spike, and they're still 75% open. When we had our spike, it was closed. So I feel a little bit concerned for them. I'm not saying what should be done or what's right or wrong, but I'm concerned for them. But I'm also a little bit optimistic based on some of the severity of that. But I don't know a lot about it. That's enough of that. We don't want to talk about that. But Todd H. brought it up, and I bit. Sorry about that. Day Lee says, do you feel confident that the players will have a functional knowledge of the playbook when football starts? You mean when football starts as in when we get to the football season? Like as we get to September 1st and the opening game? Yes, I think they'll have a functional knowledge of it because I think that Michigan State is coming in clean COVID-wise. Whether they can maintain that after the students come, I don't know. You're looking at Clemson and LSU and some of these others that have bigger numbers. Might they be better off in August if it's run through their team a little bit? Controversial. I don't want to be wackadoodle about this. I don't want to be insensitive about this. But I'm wondering, those programs brought their guys back and they mixed around and then they tested. Just makes me wonder if they might be further ahead of having it go through their team. Of course, we don't know. Maybe you can catch it twice, in which case you wouldn't be any better off. Michigan State only had 2 positive tests. One guy's not back on campus yet. They're tested again today. We might hear in a couple of days. I don't know. Maybe they're all clean now, in which case they'll begin optional workouts probably later this week or midweek. And the plan is they'll have small groups. I don't know the exact number. Could be anywhere from, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, small group with one strength and conditioning coach. That's one group, and then another 10 with another strength and conditioning assistant or whatever, then another group. So if somebody tests positive in that group, they will quarantine the entire group rather than quarantining the entire team. So that's the way it's going to start off. I think Michigan State has done it with a lot of wisdom. I think that'll help them get through these workouts and into that July period that the NCAA is allowing this year with the enhanced July. There'll be more strength and conditioning with coaches present. There will be team meetings in July they've never had before with coaches present, obviously, and also X's and O's installation with a football. No helmets and no pads, but they can talk X's and O's installation. Very important for Michigan State. New program, new staff, new scheme on offense and defense. Very important that they've got that. Michigan State needed that. Northwestern needed it on offense. Rutgers needs it. Florida State needs it. A few others need it. So, yes, I think Michigan State's got a good chance to get through all of that without shutting everything down. And I think they will have a working knowledge heading into fall camp when the pads go back on. Can they get through fall camp then? Once students are back, then you start hitting with the entire team. Then what happens with the testing? Because you can go 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 right now, but when you get into August or you get into July with some of those scrimmage 11 on 11 type things with the ball and no pads, then you've got more players mixing, and then you could run into more problems. I just bumped the microphone. Let me know if it gets fuzzy again. Your question is, do I think they'll have a working knowledge? Yes. I'm not predicting they'll be great, but I think there'll be a working knowledge. I think they'll be okay in that regard. Let's go back to the mailbag questions here. Question number 4. This is from Spartan Fan 81 from Orange County, California. Good to have you here. Comp, who do you think ends the season as the starting quarterback? Who ends the season? A little bit of a variation on that question. We've had some variation of that question every week. Who do I think is going to start? Who do I think is going to start? Who do you think is going to start? Don't want to discount Theo Day. I saw a post come across a few moments ago, and that's exactly right. Big, strong, talented kid. He's got his mind that he wants to get it done. So, who ends the season? Spartan Fan 81 out of Orange County, California says, I anticipate. He says, we might have a few starters throughout the season. Might be right. He says, Rocky Lombardi starting off as a starter and struggling and switching to a younger guy. Curious to hear your thoughts. I think that possibility very well could happen. I think that would have happened if D'Antonio were still head coach. I think D'Antonio would have had Lombardi start, and I'm not sure how the season would have began, and at some point would not have been surprised to see Peyton Thorne get the look. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. I don't have any inside ideas about Jay Johnson and Mel Tucker, whether they might go to a junior with experience like Lombardi or roll the dice with that redshirt freshman Peyton Thorne. But by the end of the season, with Peyton Thorne, the unknown is undefeated. With Rocky Lombardi, we've seen what he is so far early in his career and what he's been. Started off in sensational fashion, made some great contributions, and what's happened since then. Now, to his defense, when he's gotten into games, it's usually been with Michigan State being down 3 or 4 touchdowns and the offensive line starting to sputter and the defense knows that they're going to throw, so the pass rush and the coverage is different. Not the easiest way for Peyton Thorne to get anything done. For Rocky Lombardi to get much done. So you're asking me who do I think ends the season as the quarterback? If I say Thornton, it's unknown as undefeated. If I say Lombardi, it's either the devil we know being better than the devil we don't know, or he's improved. My hunch, I'm going to say Peyton Thorne, just a hunch. I don't have a lot to base that on, other than, like I've told you before, ear to the ground. Last year, the previous staff really liked Peyton Thorne. All right, Mall 286, repping Yellowface, South Philadelphia. He says, going back to basketball, he says, we have a lot of moving pieces in basketball due to the draft. based on the current roster, which two players make Michigan State the most dangerous team next year? Between Henry, Tillman, and Kareem Mane. Kareem Mane being the recruit from Montreal. Michigan State still chasing him. Those three players, what he's saying is which two of the three make Michigan State the most dangerous. He says this, I say this assuming Langford can finally make his return. So which two, Henry, Tillman, or Mane? I'm going to say Henry and Tillman, just because of the experience factor. You bring Tillman back, I mean, that senior, I mean, that is irreplaceable. You bring Henry back, a year stronger as a junior. You know, give me that strong junior and that strong senior. Kareem Mane, all kinds of potential. A young guy, they could use him at point guard, but you've got Rocket Watts. Old Tuck. Thanks for the sponsorship, Old Tuck. Appreciate that. In the tip jar, sponsorship jar. Thank you. The bell cow. Ringing the bell. Fittingly. So I got it's Henry and Tillman. Henry and Tillman all the way. As far as Tillman goes, so the NBA draft is pushed to October 16th. The early entry deadline is now August 17th. As far as Xavier Tillman goes, he's back with the guys. Will he be working with them? I assume so. I don't know that for a fact. I'm hearing that a decision for Tillman probably late July. He'll take it all the way to late July. So he'll be working out with the Spartans, I think, in the meantime. I've not verified that, but I expect that to be the case. Really intriguing, unique situation. Michigan State in the summer, they'll have their workouts. I'm not sure what the NCAA, usually they allow in July like a few hours per week with small groups. I'm sure that'll happen again in some way. So I'm expecting, Xavier Tillman to be out there working out with the guys, and they won't know for sure if he's going to be part of the team. That's never happened in the summer because usually the draft is taking place in the spring. Really unique, but that's what I'm expecting to happen. I think Tillman's going to work out with these guys and make his decision in late July. And if he gets good indications from NBA people that he will be taken in the first round, he'll go. But if he doesn't get that type of promise, I think he could come back. I don't discount that possibility at all. All right, so let's go. Question number 6. Ronnie 671 from Grosse Ile, Michigan. He calls it the Maui of the Midwest. Grosse Ile, the Maui of the Midwest. Is that right? The Maui of the Midwest. So what's Key West of the Midwest? What's Key West of the Midwest? Put in Bay? I know it's Ohio, but that's the vibe they go for there. As long as the Michigan and Ohio State fans don't get in a brawl on the ferry boat back to the mainland. That happened a few years ago. Not surprised. All right, Ronnie from Grosse Ile says, okay, Jim, reach into your medicine cabinet, grab the bottle labeled Brave Pills. Brave Pills. Not the best penmanship. Reach into your medicine cabinet, grab the bottle labeled Brave Pills, and tell me your best guess at the starting lineups for Michigan State's offense and defense for the opening game. Thanks for all you do. You want me to go through all 22 guys? That's like a whole show. Brave Pills. Man, the entire starting lineup. Take a lot of bravery. Take a lot of patience. Got my old ensemble fly shop mug. Let's see. Brave Pills. Didn't work. I don't feel so brave. Um, I'll go by the Athlon's preview because I wrote the Michigan State pages for Athlon's preview. And it's an excellent publication. Pick it up. It's a lot of fun. Did a good job with it this year. They did. Athlon's did. And I told you a couple weeks ago that I sent the depth chart in before we got the information about Julian Barnett moving to defense. But I went with, so I just got to repeat what I have here. Quarterback, I put Peyton Thorne in there. When I saw it in print, I was like, whoa, that's a little bit out there. But I've been right on these things over the years. We'll see. Rocky, nothing against you. Maybe I don't know. Maybe hopefully Rocky's not reading anything. He's motivated enough. But I had Thorne as the starter. I was basing that on, hey, the coaches liked him. Brad Salem liked him. I know Brad's not around anymore, but they really liked his slope of improvement last year. And, I'd heard, and I never quite nailed it. I asked Peyton Thorne this. Was it the Illinois game when was Lewerke hurt? And they were warming up Peyton Thorne to go into the game if Lewerke couldn't return. Lewerke did return, but I had heard on the sideline that Thorne was given the green light. He was going in the game. I asked Peyton Thorne if that was true, and he said, you would have to ask the coaches about that. Very smart, diplomatic teenager right there. He didn't want to say, yeah, that's right, I was going in. He said you have to ask the questions about that. Very astute answer from a young freshman. But that should tell you a little bit. Now, I know that's the previous staff. He's got to go out and impress a new staff. All right. Wide receiver, 3 starting wide receivers. Got Jalen Naylor there, and I've got Jaden Reed and Trey Mosley. I got Mosley ahead of Julian Barnett. Well, actually, Julian Barnett's over at corner now, right? I've got Trey Mosley ahead of C.J. Hayes and Larice Nelson. There's a chance that Hayes could come in and impress the new coaches. I got Trey Mosley there, though. Left tackle, I've got A.R. Curry. I've got Duplain at left guard. Center, I've got Matt Allen. Right guard, Kevin Jarvis. Right tackle, Jordan Reed. No surprises there. Tight end, I got Matt Dotson. Got to stay healthy. No surprise there. Running back, Elijah Collins. And quarterback, I got Thorne. That's the big one. I don't know. Defense, Jacob Panashuk at defensive end. Drew Beasley at defensive end. Beasley, functional walk-on. Been okay. Started a little bit once or twice as a spot starter. Jack Camper's in there. Jack Camper was a guy that Antonio was excited about 2 summers ago. Got on the field a little bit early in the year, but he was always injured. Every spring he's injured. Was on and off the field a little bit last year. But that's a guy that if he ever gets healthy, I'll be interested to see what kind of impact he can make. He doesn't remind me of Tyler Hoover athletically or physically, but Tyler Hoover was a guy, if I'm not mistaken, had little injuries along the way, and then boom, as a 5th-year senior, as a defensive tackle and a key component to that 2013 Michigan State Rose Bowl team. So I can't remember if Hoover was injured, though, if that was the case. But Camper, don't discount Camper, but I've got him as a second stringer. Defensive tackle, Naquan Jones and Jacob Slade. Don't discount Jalen Hunt, the freshman. Jalen Hunt was committed to Iowa, changed it, ended up at Michigan State Spartan late in the game. Around this time last year, I think it was. He impressed last year on the scout team, redshirted. He's got some ability at defensive tackle. I still think Slade's going to be the guy there, but Hunt, I think, is going to be in that rotation. Now, as I say every week, it's hard to project these things because we didn't see spring practice. I usually lean a lot on spring practice, especially the green-white game, to get a better read on guys like Jalen Hunt, to get a better read, on people like Jack Camper. We didn't see that this spring, so we're just going by last fall, the last time we saw these guys. Linebacker, Antoine Simmons, Noah Harvey, and Chase Klein. I've got them ahead of, Just Lord Boateng would be the guy knocking on the door there. It'd be Boateng versus Klein, maybe. But with new coaches, that could change also. At corner, Shakur Brown. I've got Kalen Gervin ahead of Dominic Long, but Dominic Long could get in there. Davion Williams, it's time for him to do something, right? Safety, Xavier Henderson and Trey Person. That's it. Michael Dowell. Tate Halleck could still maybe do something at safety, but not a lot of surprises there. Took my Brave pills. I'm not sure they worked, but went ahead and tried it. Ronnie from Gross Eel, thanks a lot. BBK00 from Parts Unknown. He says, I'm curious, who do you think the football staff is prioritizing right now on the recruiting trail? Give your top 10. One would be the player we are being the most aggressive with, and also add a percentage for each player ending up in East Lansing. That's an essay question. I mean, Corey Robinson could do a big story just on that, the top 10 and percentages. That could be a whole show also. By the way, Corey Robinson continued to do a great job at SpartanMag.com. Conan Dyke doing a great job at SpartanMag.com. Love those guys. Appreciate them. Who are they prioritizing? You know, different positions. You're prioritizing Andrell Anthony as much as you're, prioritizing Jamari Button, the linebacker from Belleville, as much as prioritizing Donovan Edwards at running back. I mean, they're different positions, so those are all, A-plus type of guys. Let's see here. I'll look something up real quick. At the running back situation, Michigan State likes Donovan Edwards, of course. But, Audric Estime from New Jersey. Gabe Ervin, the kid from Georgia. I posted about him on the bunker today. Gabe Ervin, you go look at his film. His ability to change direction with economical footsteps, with some power at 6'1". If you told me Gabe Ervin was ranked ahead of Donovan Edwards, I would not be surprised. I know Donovan Edwards is the number 2 or 3 running back in the country. I think Gabe Ervin is just as good, if not better. And those guys are, Michigan State, those are A-list recruits. So is Estime, the kid from New Jersey. Vandemark, the offensive lineman from New Jersey. This guy, Delphin Castillo, the guy from Baltimore St. Francis, that's an interesting one. That just kind of broke a little bit this week. On June 18th, Castillo was saying Michigan State made his top 6, along with Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Vanderbilt, Maryland, Tennessee. I don't have my ear to the ground on that one as to how hard Michigan State's going after those guys. But Michigan State's got to prioritize some of these offensive linemen, right? Vandermark and Castillo, a couple of guys on the Eastern Seaboard, they'd be right there. Mike Trigg talked about him earlier, the tight end position. Wide receiver, Andrell Anthony, Keon Coleman. These are top 10 type guys. Javon Grigsby, the safety from Louisiana. Those, I think that's 9 or 10 right there. There's some others, but those are the ones coming to mind. So I'm not going to spend a whole show on that. Percentage-wise, I don't have a read. Andrell Anthony, Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan. I think that's like a 30, 10. Give Notre Dame 10. So I'm going to say 30% on Andrell Anthony. Keon Coleman, I don't have a good enough read on that. Trigg. It's a lot of these recruitments have kind of like, hit the cruising stage. Button, I think Michigan State, Penn State. I think Michigan State's got more than a 50% chance to get Button. Grigsby, I think Michigan State's got more than a 50% chance to get him. Baton Rouge kid. That'd be an interesting one. Donovan Edwards, probably less than 20%. Ervin, I think, Michigan State's in the top 5 with Ervin. Ervin is intriguing, like that guy a lot as a prospect. Question number 8, Michigan State. This is MSU Polo from Rockford, Michigan. He says, my question for the week, what are your deep thoughts on the point guard position for next year? Would love to hear how you would envision a team led primarily by Rocket Watts versus Kareem Mane, as well as how Lawyer and Hogard will be called upon to contribute. Thanks as always. I think Rocket Watts is a lead guard. That's something Rocket Watts is going to want to do, something he's going to need to do as a pro, so something that he would be willing to embrace. And I think Izzo loves Rocket Watts' will and focus and tenacity and his talent and that quick first step with the dribble, all those things. I think Watts, it'll be, it's different than, the way Cassius Winston could read and set people up. So Rocket Watts is going to have, I would imagine some difficult moments in that regard. But what will it look like? I think Watts will be different, but good. Maybe more of the Kalen Lucas type in some ways, because Kalen Lucas was a good point guard, but not like a great, wizardly distributor. So Watts, Kareem Mane. If Michigan State gets Mane, I still think Watts would start at the point, and Mane might come off the bench for a little while anyway. Don't repeat that. I might be wrong, Kareem. If you're watching this, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I mean, remember when Marcus Taylor came off the bench? Just saying. So, Lawyer, I think Lawyer would be a good backup for Watts. Come in 5 minutes a half, play 10 minutes a game. Lawyer doesn't have a high ceiling of potential, but, getting more comfortable. The thing about Lawyer is, and I know, I don't want to rip on Lawyer. He is what he is, physically and athletically. Can become a little bit of a streak shooter here and there, streak scorer here and there. A lot of people like to point out that he lifted Michigan State to that Big Ten tournament game victory over Ohio State 2 years ago in Route 20. They won the Big Ten tournament that year, right? I think. But Lawyer, and I don't want to. The guy gets enough abuse. I hate to pile on, but you're asking my observations. I'm surprised that Lawyer is not a better passer. Not a great passer. Maybe he'll become a better one. So, but bring him in 6 minutes a game. Could be a good backup point guard. Good enough. Hoggard, the freshman coming in, he's got to tighten up that body. How will he look coming out of the quarantine, getting into the summer? Would have loved to have seen Hoggard over at Moneyball. 2020 is a strange year, isn't it? So Hoggard, can he do some of that? Would he take some of Lawyer's minutes? I don't know. If they get Mane, I wouldn't be surprised if Lawyer looks elsewhere. They'd like him to stay. He would like to stay. But if you get Mane, you got to play him. If you get Mane, Lawyer's minutes, it's just the nature of the beast. And they've had those discussions. But Watts, Hoggard, it's kind of a combo guy, maybe not a pure distributor either. A guy that's got a little bit. I like his feel for the game, though. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Hoggard shows up and has a really good feel for the five-man unit and getting that thing going as his career progresses. But next year, Watts and Lawyer, I think you can do well with those two guys. You get Mane, then it's Watts and Mane. Does Mane play a little more than Lawyer? Probably so. And then Watts more to the guard. I've got to watch some of those Kareem Mane Canadian national team games. I don't want to just see highlights. Highlights, okay, that shows you the ceiling of potential and them at their best. But I want to see a whole game. I want to see mistakes, decisions. I need to see a whole game. And I didn't see him play last summer. And then this summer, no one's playing. So it's hard to read some of those things. We're going along rapidly here. Hoping to get done inside of 90 minutes rather than me just talking too much and going too long. Big Don from DeWitt says, without including Spartans, which coaches in both football and basketball have been your favorites to interact with through the years? Who are the least favorites? Least favorites, well, you're excluding Spartans, but, I mean, Nick Saban's no longer a Spartan, but Nick Saban, I mean, just a curmudgeon. Great coach, though. Football, when Paterno had it going, he was always entertaining and intriguing at the Big Ten media days. Jim Tressel, I thought, was always, I mean, he was buttoned up with his sweater vest and stuff, but he was kind and respectful. I remember being in the hallway in Chicago once, and he was walking by, and he said some things. I was with Jillian Van Straat. We were working on some stuff, and he didn't say much, but he's in a good mood. That doesn't count for everything, but that's the way Tressel was. I thought he was pretty good. Currently, Chris Creighton at Eastern Michigan, when I see him at camps, I saw him also. I was at Justin Rose's the Sports Cave on WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit. I was down there a few years ago when Creighton was on it. Met him there. saw him at camps after that. I've always liked him. Jim McElwain, I know that he's a former Spartan, but when I see him out and about, I like him. Real good, genuine dude. A guy you'd like to get on the boat, go out and go fishing for some walleye, throw back a couple of beverages, tell a few lies. Mark Richt, when he was at Georgia, when Michigan State played Georgia a couple of times, I thought he was good with the media, good, decent person. Basketball, Tom Crean, he's got his detractors, and he's a little bit of a difficult guy sometimes, but I always got along with him well. And when he was at Indiana and now at Georgia, I'm always happy to see Tom Crean. Brian Gregory, same thing. Rooting for him down in South Florida. Decent person. Tubby Smith was good. Bruce Weber, when he was at Illinois, I've not seen him since he was at Kansas State, but Bruce Weber, good guy. Going all the way back, Gene Cady had that gruff exterior, but also was a pretty good guy. You're asking for least favorites? I don't know. I don't have many least favorites. Some of those guys wasn't around enough to have a problem with any of them, so I'm just going to move on. If I think of anybody, I'll mention it, though. Gator617 from Novi, Michigan says, the cornerbacks and the safeties definitely did not live up to their potential last year. With the elite coaching back now, do you see that group having a big improvement, slight improvement, or same as 2019, or worse than 2019? I think it's going to be better than 2019. Last year, they had problems with same pageness, what I call same pageness, being on the same page. Too many errors with guys. I thought you had them, I take them. And Wake Forest game, they gave up a big one on that. Every week there was some same pageness error. I think Barnett will improve that, and he'll also improve individual technique, and just communication and motivation will improve. And that'll result in better individual play and better collective play in the defensive backfield. I'm pretty confident about that. So I'm expecting improvement. You're asking, will it be big improvement or slight improvement? I'm going to say somewhere between slight improvement and big improvement. I'm not going to say big improvement because I'm not sure how great the talent level is. It'll be better. I'm not sure how good Trey Person is, how good Shaq Brown can be. I think they can be good, functional, better than last year, but I'm not sure they can be like, big improvement like you're saying. So, Shaq Brown was a guy that made some errors last year. Trey Person with some errors last year. That should tighten up. Xavier Henderson, a big dude. He'll play some good football. I could see Tate Hallett getting in there, at least on special teams. At corner, Shaq Brown. Maybe Dominique Long. Maybe Kalen Gervin. Maybe Christian Jackson. Not sure. Kalen Gervin, had that chance because Ohio State struggled. Kalen Gervin, I think, may be a guy that with a year of Harlan Barnett can make some strides. But he's not had that year yet because they didn't have spring practice. So that's all paused. Let's go back over here to the chat area for some questions. Oh, Carter917 said Michigan State did not make Keon Coleman's top 3. I missed the memo on that. When did that happen? Hayden Fisher with a sponsorship in the jar. Thanks, Hayden. And thank you, Hayden, for putting in good questions every week. I appreciate that. Really do. Thank you. Thanks for being a part of this. Oh, 5 hours ago, Keon Coleman. That's why I missed the memo. Kansas is in it, huh? So Kansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. All right, the 3 schools that were dropped from the top 6 are Michigan State, Mississippi State, and Florida State. So Kansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. That's an eclectic mix. So that's the top 3 now. So that takes the Izzo factor out of the running. Kansas, South Carolina. What was the other one? Oklahoma. Basketball-wise, got Martin and Kruger in there. Kansas. Bill Self. Anyway, so that's too bad. Keon Coleman, big time, 6'4" wide receiver. So looks like we're past the fuzzy noise problems with the microphone. That's where I'm on these posts. Getting into the breakout players. Tyler Miller thinking Panashuk. Derek Hurst thinking Kalen Gervin. I like your way of thinking, Derek. Kalen Gervin, it's time. Number one player in the state 3 years ago. Got on the field last year a little bit. Incremental steps. Breakout player. If you go by the recruiting rankings and everything, it should be his time, right? Tyler Walter says, hoping for a breakout quarterback this year. I hear that. Dali saying Trenton Gillison for sure. Well, I like your optimism on that. Drippy says Ricky White, the next MSU great. Ricky White was, Michigan State did a great job, that wide receiver from Marietta, Georgia, getting in on him, getting in there, getting the lead, getting the commitment. And then Ricky White goes out and has a great senior year for a state championship team, a powerhouse, a national powerhouse, Marietta, Georgia. Ricky White was slippery, skilled, good. Yeah, I could see Ricky White coming in, having a breakout as a true freshman wide receiver. That's a good call. Brian H. saying Jaden Reed. That's my favorite also. Justin Thin. Good to have Justin Thin here. Doing a great job for Michigan State at SpartanMag.com. Doing a great job. He's a Michigan State student. Intern. Justin. He's an enthusiastic guy. A lot of talent in a lot of ways inside of journalism and outside of journalism. He's got a great future. Who is that? Was that Sean Locke? Sean Locke. Please ask my wife, Jen, to wake up. She's tired. Jen, you got to wake up. Jen, you got to wake up. It's 10 o'clock. Wake up. Come on. Hayden Vischer. Thanks, Hayden. Happy belated Father's Day to the Pope of Spartan Nation. Thanks. Father's Day was good. Hope you guys that are dads had a good Father's Day. And those of you who still have your dad, cherish it. All right. What do we have here? Justin Thin says, I'm rolling with my guy Dominic Long. If Harlan Barnett gets his technique straightened out, all the physical tools are there. I agree with that. You're welcome, Shawlock. Shawlock? Did I say Shaylock? You're welcome, Shaw. And Jen, wake up. Let's go. Wake up. It's almost New Year's Eve. It's Monday night. Don't be shy with your refreshments. Take some Brave pills. You get the idea. That was a fail. Sorry. Dominic Long, good length. Long length on Dominic Long. Frame. You see that straight line speed. You see that straight line speed in special teams coverages. Dominic Long, smart guy. What is he? Mechanical engineering major? Dominic Long, smart dude. He's got to bring that brain to the field. This is controversial. We've all played with guys that are like super smart, like those 4.0 guys, various sports, that are like smart in the classroom. But you get them on the court, and they're just, I don't know what it is. Drew Namick was that way for a while. Dominic Long, smart in the classroom, and that'll carry him a long way in life. I'd rather be that than the other. Dominic's got to, sometimes those guys think, they're such big thinkers that, on the field, it's not. So Dominic Long's got to bring that to the field. And if that happens, Justin, I like that pick. I was my understanding that heading into spring practice, if there had been a spring practice, Dominic Long, Harlan was going to put that. There were some indications Dominic Long had a really good chance to be first string corner for the outset of spring practice. So you're rolling with Dominic Long as your guy to get Harlan Barnett to get his technique straightened out. He's gone from corner to safety, back to corner. Mike Tressel said some good things about him when we had the interview opportunity with Tressel back in August. All right, Shaw says, good night, Comp. Go green. Your passion can't be replicated. Thank you. Good night. Tuck each other in. Have a good night. Thanks for staying up this late. Do I need to not have this at 9 o'clock? When we get back toward the fall, we'll take it back to 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central. We'll bring it back to 8 o'clock. We go 9 o'clock because it's the longest nights of the year. It's still daylight at 9 o'clock. And those of you that are up in the northwest west corner of Michigan, or even those of you in the UP up there toward Houghton and Hancock, it's 10 o'clock up there. It's probably still daylight up there because that's as far west as you can go in the Eastern time zone. And that far north, I mean, it's probably still daylight up there. I've been up there in the middle of the summer a few times. I don't know if you ever have, but I was there. I remember 4th of July, I was up there like in 1984. My sister was going to Michigan Tech at the time. We went up there. And they've got great fireworks show there on the canal, Houghton, Hancock. Two great little towns. There on the hillside. And we had to wait for fireworks. We had to wait and wait and wait and wait. It was like 10:20 p.m. before it was dark enough for fireworks. Anyway, that's why we have this at 9 o'clock in the summer. When we get to the fall, it'll drop back to 8 o'clock because it'll be darker out quicker. And we'll get it done so that Shaw and Jen can watch at SpartanMag Live and get to bed at a reasonable hour, which is really important. We want to make sure everybody gets all their beauty sleep. Very important. All right. Let me find my place. I lost my place. Todd H. says Jaden Reed. Yes. Hayden Vischer says, I said excluding just to see if you could come up with some other names. Agree with you that Reed is on the cusp. So we got to go with Jaden Reed. Thanks for the sponsorship also. Tyler Miller. Could Morgan be a breakout receiver? Trayvon Morgan, big guy, 6'5.5", 6'6". I've said before, I'd seen him in the football building last year, and he was the biggest wide receiver I've ever seen. Then I remembered Marcus Waters, and I'm like, well, maybe Marcus Waters was bigger. It's close. I mean, big, cut, defined, smile on his face. Had a great senior year. What was that? In Massillon, Washington, I think, in Ohio. Became a 4-star out of nowhere. Brad Fashenko. With the sponsorship. Thanks a lot, Brad. Appreciate that. Thank you. Brad's a regular here. And really appreciate that. I know some people that know Brad. They say he's a good guy, but I don't know if I believe them. Just kidding. What were we talking about? Oh, Trayvon Morgan. Great senior year. Speed, frame, but like Konendijk said, Konendijk did the feature on Trayvon Morgan when Michigan State got the commitment from him. Paul's like, man, I like him, but that injury history of his, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, there's a reason he wasn't really on the recruiting map and then had a great senior year and vaulted to 4-star status. Comes to Michigan State, blows his fan belt again, and I'm not sure what's going on. Could he be a breakout guy? That's a great question. Would love to have seen him in the green-white game. I don't know any more about Trayvon Morgan than I knew on signing day when he became a Spartan 2 years ago. Does he have the potential? Yeah. You get that guy out in the field, how well can he move? If he moves well, he's a monster. I don't know. Yeah, that's he should be on the he would be an interesting bet because the odds would be slim or high or fat or whatever. You could get good if this were on the if this were on the board at Firekeepers Casino. Unpaid plug. They're taking sports bets now, I guess. Not that I partake in that. Not judging. But Morgan would be an interesting one at like 100-1 that could come through for you. All right, Tyler Walter is thinking Peyton Thorne. Dali, I don't know how to pronounce that. Delay. I think we have above average receivers. Some optimism from Dale. Trey Mosley, Jalen Naylor, Jaden Reed. Yeah, I'd say above average. And Michigan State's had those over the years. Those guys can perform at the Big Ten level, I would anticipate. C.J. Hayes, get more from him. Ricky White is going to add some spice to that group, that's for sure. Hayden Vischer says, I like Jarvis in there. So you're saying Jarvis is a guy that we can put in the category of a breakout player. If he becomes like a second-team All-Big Ten type of guy, that would be a breakout. Ricky White, don't sleep on him, says MM Drippy. Tyler Miller says, can Matt Allen step up like his two brothers? Matt Allen was not expected to be quite as good as Jack Allen and Brian Allen, and that's proved to be true. He's been okay. Could he be as good as those guys? Probably not, but I know that he is really committed and driven heading into his senior year. I think he can be a good, functional senior, even a captain type of guy. As good as Jack Allen and Brian Allen, he can step up and be good. I would not anticipate him being as good as those guys. Tom Zach says Slade at defensive tackle. Slade, good motor on him, some strength. He's getting bigger and older and stronger. Hands, quickness. Loved him at the Rivals camp in Ohio. Was that 3 years ago? Wrote about him. He was not on the map. Ends up getting an offer. Becomes a Michigan State guy. For a guy that was a 2-star with no offers, now he's going to be a starter as a sophomore. I didn't predict it at all, but seeing him at the T-shirt camp, he's one of those guys I'm like, well, I'm going to write that guy's name down because nobody here can block him. He looks quick, big, and strong. And he's not ranked anywhere. If that guy ends up going to John Carroll or Albion and not being any good, then I'm stupid because he looks pretty good. Well, as it turns out, it goes to Michigan State, Big Ten player. Derek Hurst, breakout or not, I'd be happy if Jarvis has a good year. I agree with you on that. I'd be happy if the guy stays healthy. Todd H. says, Theo Day, breakout at quarterback or Thorne. Todd H. going out on a limb with Theo Day. Not that much of a limb. It could happen. He'll be in the competition. It'll be a derby. Drippy says, you should do surprise streams during the week with a film breakdown of a player or position group. That would be awesome. There's a way to do a film thing, but I like to pause the film and show things. Now, wouldn't be able to do it live, in terms of getting the video onto this. You know me, I like to, if you're familiar with SpartanMag.com, I'll use the camera and point to it. And I do it in a real primitive way. Kind of bothers some people, but it's kind of the most efficient way that I've got. I mean, if I did it the other way, it'd be more slick, but we've got to move on to other things. Some breakdowns, the huddle film, is that available for that? Without the sound, you can. YouTube won't let you use it with sound. There's not much sound on those anyway. That's something I've thought about, and we've got some things. When I do some of those player breakdowns over the Underground Bunker message board, I've been a little disappointed over the years with some of the film room stuff. Some people really like it, and I enjoy doing it, but it doesn't get a lot of views. It only gets maybe 150, 200, maybe 300 views. So I'm not really sure how popular that stuff is. Now, you can't run your restaurant based on just, if you've got the best caviar in town, but only 1 out of every 50 people order it. If you got the best anchovies in town, do you still make a big deal about it? I think you keep it as a staple, right? So we'll keep doing the film room. Some of that depends on how much time I have. But doing it here, some of it ends up on YouTube, right? I put some of it on Vimeo. I don't know. But thanks for your support, Drippy, and thanks for your suggestions. Tom Zach saying Thorne. Smoky Gamers with a Smoky Bear avatar says Keon Coleman parents would not let him commit to us, but we were his number one choice. Unfortunate. Smoky Gamers, I don't know what your sources are on that, but that's interesting. Dali saying no love for Theo Day. You can breathe the love for Theo Day. That's fine. Let's go back to the mailbag. We're an hour and 20 minutes into this thing. Appreciate all the help. Appreciate all the support, all the involvement, all the contributions. MSQ13 says, which redshirt freshmen and sophomores will contribute this year? Bowling out another big question. I'm going to table that for next week. I'll try to do a little bit of research on that. But Drippy wants some surprise Spartan Mag lives, huh? I've been thinking about doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday type of thing and doing more of these. And when the quarantine was going, I was really thinking about it. But I was surprised how busy we were as writers during the quarantine because there were things going on every day, and we're trying to keep up with recruiting. So I would have thought that maybe that would have been the time to go 3 times a week. Didn't turn out that way, but we thought about it, and that's still possible. If we could shorten these to 20 minutes, that was one of the theories. I still want to see that, to try that, to see what that does with the numbers. If more people get involved and like it that way, then maybe that's the way to go. Ben Berm from Parts Unknown says, with the NBA draft withdrawal set for October, would MSU impose their deadline with Henry and or Tillman? Is there a deadline for a player transfer? No, there's never a deadline for a player transfer. Would Michigan State impose their own deadline with Henry and Tillman? The deadline is August 17th. Would Michigan State? I don't know. Would they say, hey, look, we need to know something by end of July? It's possible. I don't know what that would do to Michigan State in terms of scholarship room for other players. Not sure. It's a good question. I don't have a good read on that. I could ask around. I've not had a chance to ask around about that yet. So I'm not going to guess on that. Michigan State, would they do a deadline more so than August 17th, or would they let it go that long? I do know they're expecting late July maybe for Henry or for Tillman. Is that something Michigan State is already imposing on him or asking him to do? Not sure. Good question. I don't have the answer. So that ends the mailbag portion of the festivities. Now we'll transition back over to the chat, go through these questions, and call it a SpartanMag Live and wrap it up. I want to bump up the point size so I can read this better. I'm old. I can't see very well. Rob South, a little late tonight, fellas. What did I miss? Rob South missed all of it. Very disappointed Rob South was not here earlier. Old Tuck from Ludington, Michigan. Is Fletcher, the defensive end, able to run the hoop with the same hip flexibility of Juan Hammonds? Probably similar. Juan Hammonds, pretty good defensive end from, I think, Louisville, Kentucky. Played Michigan State in the early 90s. Old Tuck likes to reference players from the early 90s. Juan Hammonds, good, not great. Some size. A little sleepy here and there. Good guy, but Juan Hammonds would have been a better player if he'd come a couple of years later with Nick Saban and those guys. Fletcher, I think more straight line horsepower than Hammonds, but neither one of them are great turn the corner hoop benders. Fletcher, at the t-shirt camps was good, not great in that area. Can you improve on that? I've seen some people improve a little bit. Still forming my frame of reference on that. I've not seen a guy yet that's been, kind of a straight line, a little bit stiff, turn the corner in the t-shirt camps, go to college and become Jonal St. Deke, a guy that could turn the corner with hip flexibility. Not that St. Deke was great. I mean, Fletcher could and should become a better all-around defensive end than Jonal St. Deke, but turning the corner, maybe not his strong suit. Good kid, though. Team-oriented. Good heart on that guy. So I think he'll help in some ways at some point. Jesse Adams says, why would Coleman's parents not let him commit to us? I mean, it seemed like he liked us all over Twitter, but then we missed his top 3. Hey, that's the way recruiting's going to be. When you're recruiting in the Southeast, there's going to be some drama. Smokey Gamer says Theo Day is going to be the starter. He's got the most upside by far, and Thorne will back him up. Rocky either has to move to H-back or transfer. So Smokey Gamer's putting an observation out there. Smokey Gamer says, and Coleman parents want him to stay closer to home. Unfortunate, so I'm thinking he goes south in the end. Smokey Gamers making some strong points, making some strong contributions. Good to have Smokey Gamers here. Alaska Stoneworks Brett Dodgson says, I agree, Theo Day, tough to beat out. A lot of Theo Day fans coming out tonight. I like it. Sometimes I forget about Theo Day too much. Todd H says, I agree with Smokey. Have a feeling about Theo Day being the guy. Check out Theo Day. The unknown is undefeated with him too. Sparty says, Theo Day is going to be the man. Not sure why he doesn't get high praise. The Theo Day posse is rolling strong tonight. Smokey Gamer says, also, if we get Andrell Anthony, we get Budden as well. We are leading for both right now, currently, but Penn State could pull the rug. Smokey Gamer's coming strong, adding a lot to the SpartanMag live festivities tonight. Jesse Adams says, oh, okay, Smokey, hopefully we can get the DB out of the same high school. Please text your answer, Flash says. I don't know what's going on here. Hayden Vischer, what is with CJ Hayes listed at 6'1"? I've seen him walking around campus, and he is no shorter than 6'3". Usually you see heights rounded up, not down. All right, well, I've been around CJ Hayes. Yeah, he's got some size, and when he plays, he seems taller than 6'1", doesn't he? I agree with you. I'm going to say he's at least 6'2". It's a good point. He looks bigger than 6'1". Jesse Adams says, I agree, Smokey, on Budden and Anthony. It also helps Ethan Boyd is already committed to us already. Then I would hope the staff starts to show some more love to offensive tackle Rayshawn Benny from Oak Park. I should have mentioned Rayshawn Benny earlier when I talked about top 10 guys Michigan State is emphasizing. He would be on that list. That was an oversight on my part. My bad. Jesse Adams says because he's still a wild card of where he may commit, even though it seemed like Michigan is the front runner. Talking about Rayshawn Benny, still offensive tackle from Oak Park. Smokey Gamers checking in again. I think we get Andrell Anthony, Budden, and Grigsby, 287s and a 90. And Mitchell Evans, the tight end, who's an 88. So our class can be really solid this year. Smokey Gamers showing some game in his damn self. Shaw Locke, comp on backs, comp on vacation in North Carolina at the beach. Give my son Jack a shout out. I missed that one. Jack, hopefully you and Shaw and Jen are still have gone to bed. I don't know if you're still up. Be good. Shout out to Jack. Drippy says Donovan Edwards way overrated in my opinion. Old Tuck, good to see the Big Toe here. Big Toe is Big Toe was the guy that was late. What's his name again? Rob South. It's the Big Toe of the SpartanMag Live. I don't disagree about the Donovan Edwards thing. I don't disagree. It's good, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Running backs that have been ranked number 2 or 3 in the country. I went back and looked at some of the people. You're talking Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, those type of guys. Their film's different when they were in high school. Drippy, Old Tuck, Doors Fan 91 says MSU did not make Keon Coleman's top 3. Thanks. Smokey Gamers, our secondary will honestly be top-notch this year, and the corners were so bad besides Scott because they had no ball skills, so Harlan can coach these guys and dumb down the position for them less thinking. Smokey Gamers out there with more observations and forecasts, and I don't disagree with what he says. Smokey Gamers. Shaw. Doors Fan says, James Ohanba, make or break season ahead. What about Jacob Isaiah? Too light in the pants for Big Ten offensive line. I think Isaiah was creeping toward a role. Saw him a little bit as a blocking back in the jumbo. I think he's getting there. Ohanba, I've not seen or heard anything that leads me to believe he's knocking on the door to be in the playing group. Got a new offensive line coach, so things could change. Ohanba's probably looking forward to getting out there with Kapilovic, but I'm sure Michigan State would have liked to have seen Ohanba for themselves, the new coaches, for themselves on the practice field in the spring to get an idea of whether he has any hope. And if not, then you look for a transfer situation. That's the way things are when you get to year number 4 and you've not cracked the 2 deep. It's just the way it is. Brad Fashenko, as a journalist, what are the differences in covering basketball and football? At Michigan State, 2 different sports, 2 different rhythms to a week. You still have the early week press conferences. Basketball, we're allowed to go to practices, and it's very valuable to watch practice during the course of the season. You can watch the things that Izzo's irritated with, things that he's tightening the screws on. as the season goes along. And then when things happen in games late in the year, you remember 3 weeks ago when they were working on this or working on that. So basketball, we get to look under the hood a lot more. Football, we don't get to watch more practice. That's the way it was with D'Antonio. Watched a little bit of workouts in August and then nothing during the regular season. Maybe because they would only let us watch, stretching, and then you get so busy you don't really need to go watch stretching, so no one would go. Back in the Perlis days, all the practices were open on Mondays and Tuesdays. Even late, but that was before the internet. Mel Tucker was asked if practice would be open, and he was non-committal about that back in March. That was February. That was before the quarantine, obviously. So I think it'll probably be like that. Georgia, he coached at Alabama and Georgia. They were really tight. At Alabama, assistant coaches were not allowed to be interviewed. Tucker says he will allow assistant coaches to be interviewed, and I am all thumbs up for that. That's great. I think that's good for the coaches, good for the program, good for old JC over here, too. Good for you guys as well. Georgia, I understand a lot of the interview opportunities are still tight. They are at Alabama also. Interview opportunities, there's going to be more of them here at Michigan State, which is good. How much practice will we get remains to be seen. I'm not guessing it's going to be a lot. That's just the way coaches do it these days. The difference is they're both good. It's like, I like apples and I like oranges. I like covering football. I like covering basketball. They're both good here. It would be a lot different if you had Tom Izzo as a coach and Kirby Smart as the football coach. That would be opposites in terms of access. Jim McCarthy says Long's been a presence on special teams. Yes, he has. He gets down there, runs, makes tackles. He's been good. It's about time. He needs, he's played safety, played corner. Needs to lock down and make a good contribution as a starter this year. He's got the potential. Justin Thin says, you're right about Dom being changed from cornerback to safety too frequently. He would joke about not even knowing what his position was at various times of the last 3 school years. I hear you. Justin knows Dominique a little bit. Tom Kelly says, any news on Damon Payne? Saw there were some predictions to Alabama recently, including Mike Farrell. Tom from the Frandor Hill. Tom Kelly from the Frandor Hill. I remember seeing Percy Snow running up that hill back in the old days. I've never went sledding down the Frandor Hill, though. I think it's harder to get to now. I think it's a little overgrown. But anyway, Damon Payne, SEC guy, most likely. Good defensive tackle. Alabama-level defensive tackle. He's the best defensive tackle I've seen in the state of Michigan in a long, long time. I can't remember when I've seen a defensive tackle high school junior film like that. It's the best junior film I've seen from a Michigan high school defensive tackle. The guy that went to LSU, a lineman, I remember seeing him at camp, and I remember telling Matt Dorsey, I'm like, man, he's good. He's Oklahoma good. That's back when Oklahoma was really good. Oklahoma's still good, but I don't know if Oklahoma ever had like a real good defense. But that was a Detroit kid, ended up at LSU. This guy is real good. Barksdale. Thanks, Tyler. Barksdale. Payne, it's a timing thing. If Michigan State, if Mel Tucker had 1 or 2 good years, they would have a better shot. And then you go head-to-head with Alabama. Not surprised Alabama's all over him. Old Tuck says, don't forget my highlighted question. Thank you. Let me go back and look at it. I apologize, Old Tuck. Okay, here it is. What does each Izzo assistant play? What role does each Izzo assistant play? And who's the top recruiter? Top recruiter is Dwayne Stevens. Dane Fife working in there, recruiting here and there. But I think Dwayne's a little better recruiter. Sorry, Dane. Sorry, Dane. Dane could show me stats, and maybe he can prove me otherwise on that. Stevens works with the big men, post moves. They each trade off scouting reports for upcoming opponents. One game Dane will have the scout, one game DJ will have the scout, back and forth. Seems like Stevens handles more of the recruiting with, like Detroit and the family and some of those organizations. Garland does a lot of self-scout, going over film. What are our tendencies? What tendencies do we need to break? Garland also has been doing a lot more with the inbound plays. That started, I think it's been 2 seasons now. Mike Garland, Izzo has handed off inbound plays to Garland. And inbound plays were a lot better the last 2 years. There were some key games where an inbound play made a key difference. Izzo used to be he used to call inbound plays, baseline inbound plays, sideline inbound plays. Those were his special teams. You know how Izzo used to put a football moniker on a lot of the basketball happenings and basketball construct? To him, inbound plays were like special teams. And Izzo put a lot of emphasis on it early in his career, and they were very good at it. And Izzo was the first to admit that, between the years of like 10 to 20, he got a little bit away from that. Maybe he just had too many irons in the fire, too many plates spinning, whatever you want to say, and that was no longer a strength. I remember writing about that he was one of the best at the time. When you get into the late 90s, I thought he was right there. The best were Rick Majerus, Skip Prosser when he was at Wake Forest, and Tim Floyd when he was at Iowa State. I thought they were the best at inbound plays, and Izzo was right there in that group. Got away from it. Now Garland is handling that, and it's been a plus. So some of those roles vary. Garland is like that, they call him OG, original gangster. He's got those horn-rimmed glasses, and he's very fatherly and doesn't take, he's very forthright and wisdom and cares. And you better care that he cares. And he'll make you care that he cares. And you better listen to Chief because he cares. That's what he calls Izzo, Chief. I mean, Izzo really values having Garland doing his thing. Stevens, during the course of a game, you can see when it's crunch time and there's, whether it be matchups or a play that they want to get to, when Izzo turns to the bench, it's Dwayne Stevens that he confides with during in-game crunch time. What's going on? And Stevens will come down and say that guy's got 3 fouls, 4 fouls, or whatever. Stevens, a very important associate head coach, very important role. So those are some of the roles for that. Hope that answered the question. Thanks for the sponsorship, Old Tuck. What do we have here? Just a few more. Where am I at? Carter 917. What are we hearing about Budden, Anthony, and Payne? Talked about that earlier. Still looking good with Budden. Anthony creeping along. Payne's going to be hard with Saban after him like that. Old Tuck. What role do each of his assistants play? Okay, we just went over that. Top recruiter, I'm going to say Stevens. OG takes care of in-house morale, etc. What is Fife's area of expertise? Fife works the backcourt, team defense a lot, a little bit of everything. Maybe not one. He's not like a coordinator of anything in particular, I wouldn't say. He's kind of like well-rounded. Brian H. Speaking of 4.0 students, Comp, you should look into hockey player Steve Swistak. There's a recent story. This is a recent story that more Spartans should know. Steve Swistak. Okay, Brian, thanks for the tip on that. Doors Fan 91 says, why in the world did Mark D'Antonio move Terry Samuels to defensive backs coach last year? He was cornerback coach. Most head-scratching move he ever made. I thought Treadwell at wide receiver coach was uninspiring too. Can't disagree with that. Terry Samuels, hot and cold, mostly cold as a recruiter, did some damage in Houston and Texas, a little bit here and there as a recruiter. He got Jordan Simmons. Got to give him credit for that one. Kept him on staff. I think, some people say that D'Antonio wanted to keep his friends, didn't want to fire his friends. I'm not sure how much D'Antonio was friends with a lot of these guys. There is some truth that D'Antonio didn't want to fire assistant coaches, didn't want to be that guy to put people out on the street. Perlis was the same way. So rather than fire Terry Samuels, moved him to corner coach, tried to light a fire under him recruiting-wise. Not sure if it worked or not. Put him at corner. You still had Paul Haynes, and D'Antonio was still going to have some eyeballs in the defensive backfield, but you saw what happened. It didn't work. Didn't work in the defensive backfield. Didn't work in other areas. Ty Garland checking in from Oak Park, Illinois. Good to see Tyrone Garland. Barksdale, who do you think the next basketball coach will be? Carter 917 asks. Who will be the next basketball coach? My man. I do not know. And that is a question. Dwayne Stevens been there a long time. Dane Fife has some head coaching experience. I think you leave it up to Izzo between him and Beekman whenever it happens. Once upon a time, I think Izzo was high on Boylan. He's been in the NBA. Would it be somebody from outside the family? Boy, I don't know, my man. I really don't know. And I'm not sure who some of the big, I'm not sure who, the big movers and shakers, the big opinion shakers. You're not going to have Joel Ferguson around. When that happens, does Izzo do it so he retires just before a season begins so that he can name a guy the way Jim Calhoun did with Ollie, the way Dean Smith did with Guthridge? Or would Izzo and Beekman, Izzo's probably not going to tell Beekman, hey, I'm thinking about retiring, because when D'Antonio did that, it got out, and then D'Antonio had to retire. So that's a great question. None of the people from the Izzo tree have been great. Crean hasn't had great success. Gregory's not had great success. Montgomery has not had great success. Boylan did not have great success. So it's a great question. And I wonder how much Izzo thinks about it. It's not something Izzo talks about. He talks with us on the record, off the record, about a ton of things. I've never heard him talk about that. I'll have to ask him sometime. I'm not sure what he'd say. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. A good solid 90 minutes, 100 minutes. SpartanMag Live. Appreciate all the maggers being here. Thanks for the sponsorships. Thanks for everything. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be doing it again, I think, this Friday. So check your local listings for that. And as always, go over to SpartanMag.com. Say hello over there. Appreciate all the support we get. And everybody be safe. Continue the brotherhood. Don't let them divide us. Brotherhood. It's going to be good. See you next time. SpartanMag Live.